Thank you for joining us. And now we'll take our first interview with Dr. Lionel Rawlins von Frederick. He's one of our own now in the house, exactly. And he'll be talking about the nature of Nigerian roads. How bad are the nature of Nigerian roads? I'm so interested in this very topic now that we're in the Ember month. Exactly. But first of all, we welcome you on the show. Good morning. Safiya.
Safiya. Safiya.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He's improving. He's improving, definitely. I give it up.
All right. Looking at Nigeria, Nigerian drivers and the nature of our roads, what do you make of it?
Well, it's really bad. It is so bad that the drivers and driving and road fatalities have caused Nigeria to be the #2 worst place to drive in the world.
Number two worst place.
The number one is Eritrea. Yeah. But some people think Nigeria is #1 too. And it's based on several different things like fatalities, accidents, the roads, the type of cars that you drive and all that stuff. So it's really bad, and it's become the #3 killer of Nigerians right now for accidents and fatalities on the road. So it's really bad for us to go on living like that when we are such a powerful country here that we can do so many things to remedy that situation.
So do you see Nigerian drivers as so careless about road rules and lives of other road users?
Yes. For one, they're not really trained to be on the road driving, because they do not understand the rules. And those who do understand the rules don't care about them. Right. And then you have other people who they're just selfish drivers. And then you have another component where people want to make money, and these are the commercial drivers, and they either will drive fast, too fast, or they'll put too many people in a van. And so all of this stuff contribute to accidents. And these are the drivers. The roads are another topic, another problem, I should say.
Now that you said the roads is another problem, so many Nigerians too have also blamed the Nigerian roads as the major cause of accidents. Do you think it is true?
I believe so. Because, you have a road that's 3 feet deep, and a car is coming at 70 kilometers. When he hits that hole, he's going to somersault. That car he's going to lose control, especially if he didn't know that hole was there. So or you have instances where there's a hole, and cars go around to avoid the hole and then collide with each other. And so not only is it killing their own people, but it's killing pedestrians who are on the side who are just walking, going about their business. And these cars are dangerous pieces of weapons. They're not just toys to be consumed. They're weapons. They become a weaponized mechanism when you start driving too fast, or when you start driving without understanding the rules or obeying the rules.
All right, we've talked about the bad nature of the Nigerian roads, and then also we've talked about the carelessness on the part of the driver. Now, to further add to the issue of carelessness on the part of the Nigerian driver, what role does drugs and alcohol play in all of this?
A very strong role. Like this weekend, like tomorrow, maybe today, people will be leaving to travel for the holiday to celebrate with friends and families, and they may consume too much alcohol. Those who drink. Some may consume too much drugs, those who imbibe in drugs. And when they do that, their vision, their ability, their flexibility, their reflexiveness becomes so impaired that they're too slow to react and to respond. So if you see someone and it may take you, normally it may take you a minute to see them, and if your vision is impaired because you're drunk, you will not see that person at all, and you end up killing that person, or you may not be able to react. If you hit a pothole, you may not be able to react fast and quickly enough to save you or the passengers.
What if one does not get sufficient sleep? That is talking about sleep deprivation. You can't sleep enough. What about that?
Well, that's another bad one. People pay attention more to drunk driving, or if you're driving under influence. But if you're tired because you've been driving all day, or you've been studying all night and you know you're driving to school, or you've been working all night and now you're going home, if you're that tired, it's just as worse as when you're impaired by alcohol, because if you're tired, you're going to fall asleep. If you fall asleep, you're going to kill people, or you're going to kill yourself. So yes, sleep deprivation is one of the big culprits in causing accidents and death on the highways.
With that now, I think it's hard time that we try to rate the level of insanity now that occurs on the Nigerian road now. If you were to assess that, how would you describe the level of insanity considering the recklessness that is involved on the Nigerian road?
It's very high. I'll rate it very high, actually, because if you're driving, first of all, if you're drinking and your vision is impaired and you're driving on a strange road, you don't know the road, and you hit a 2 feet pothole, what do you think is going to happen? Actually, they have done a test on people who've driven fast and got in accidents, the ones who are lucky enough not to die. And the tests have shown that they have a high rate of excitement in their system, bordering insanity. So, you know, if you rate them, people who drive very, very quickly do tend to have a kind of a gene, or kind of a philosophical need for speed and excitement, and that's why you see a lot of people getting into these accidents on the road. And then they don't wear seat belts. People in Nigeria don't wear seat belts. They don't like seat belts.
All right, before he talks more about what Nigerian drivers don't really put into consideration, and then them not really being vigilant when driving. And now that we're in the Ember months, this is when we tend to have so many celebrations. We have the Independence Day coming up. We have people going here and there for weddings. We have Eid, we have Christmas somewhere coming around, and all celebrations coming. But we look at how vigilant Nigerian drivers are when they are using some of this road. But we'll take a break now. We'll take a break. When we return, we still have Dr. Lionel in the house, still talking about the safety or how vigilant you need to be on Nigerian roads. We'll be back. about the deadly roads of Nigeria, and then we have Dr. Lionel Rawlins von Frederick in the house talking to us on how we need to, go about our daily businesses when plying these roads. Before the break, we were on a question whether or not people are really vigilant when they are applying these roads. We also want to know, if you think young drivers get into more accidents than the older ones.
Yes, most people who die on the road driving is from the age 15.
15 years.
15,
but the rule is unless a child or unless you're up to 18 years of age before you're allowed to drive.
Before you're allowed to drive, but some people in some countries they allow the minor or the child to drive. They have restrictions, like they cannot drive at nights. They could only drive during the day, and they can only drive to school and back. And some will say that the child can drive if an adult is with them. But many times, though, they will steal their father's car or steal an adult's car and start speeding. And they'll drive, so they're driving illegally, for one. And it's all the way up to the age of 44. And after that, you see a decrease in the prevalence of death rates as you get older. Because the older you become, the smarter you and more experienced you are. And you don't really care about driving that fast because you're too old to do it anyways. But between that age of 15 or 44 is when people really do a lot of speeding, and speeding is what really kills.
Now, you're saying that between the ages of 15 to 44, it's kind of, we say, the peak of adventure.
Peak of adventure, that's when, because you're young and youthful and full of life. And you want to impress your friends how fast you can drive. Yeah. You have a girlfriend, you want to impress her how fast you can drive because it makes you look macho and manly. And but after a certain age, you really, it's not necessary to impress anyone. Plus, you're more experienced, and you know when the car is going too fast. You know when to slow down. At the age of 24, 25, you really don't know. You still don't know when to slow down. Because you can actually feel in the steering wheel what's happening with the car. Yeah. Just by feeling in the steering wheel, you know whether the car is going too fast or you need to slow down or there's something terribly wrong with the car.
You also want, when you talk about vigilance, what and what should one look out when driving on the road?
Well, the first thing you need to do is to watch out for the other driver. We call it defensive driving. You need to just don't drive, just make sure you're keeping eyes on the other driver. Because you might be the safest driver in the world. What happens if the other driver is a terrible driver? So always pay attention to what the other driver is doing. Make sure that he's in his lane. Yeah. If he kind of weaves over in your lane, you need to be able to react to that and say, let me move out of the way. Even though it is your lane, don't say, this is my lane.
Don't claim the right of the way.
A lot of people do that. This is my lane. Why are you doing my lane? No, you get out. If the man is driving in your lane, something is wrong with him. He's either lost control of the car, he's drunk, didn't see you, or he's had a stroke or heart attack, and is totally...
Something would definitely go wrong for him to have.
Don't claim the lane to be yours. Get out. And the same thing if you're a pedestrian not because you're on the sidewalk and you see a car ramming down the road coming at you, get out. Don't say, I'm on the sidewalk. Don't do that sort of stuff. And people tend to do that this is my lane, I'm staying here. So be vigilant of other people and notice when they're going too fast. You also have to be vigilant for the pedestrian as well. Because in Nigeria, people tend to run across the roads with impunity. They don't want to, there are not many crosswalks. So, and there's so many people that they will just run across the road. And if you just happen to be talking on the phone or to look down to see who's calling and you look up, a child could be right in front of you. Yeah. And so you have to, that is why you have to be so vigilant when driving.
Now, talking about calling, there's this rising case of people making phone calls while driving, and it seems to be a big problem. And others still go ahead even as far as texting. while driving. We know that it's not supposed to be. But why we talk about that also, we'd like to look at the place of issuance of driver's license. Many feel the process and the procedures involved in giving issuance of driver's license is not properly done in Nigeria. I don't know what you feel about that.
Well, I'll take that one first.
Okay.
I've heard that the people have gotten their driver's license just from sitting at home, and it was mailed into them, or they went and collected it at wherever it is they went to collect it, without even knowing how to drive. And I've heard that, and if it does indeed happen, then it needs to be stopped, because it's like giving a weapon to an untrained person. Mm-hmm. It's no different to giving an AK-47 into the hands of an 8-year-old who has never fired a gun before. So if you give a driver's license to someone who has never driven a car or has no idea how to drive, you're giving them a license to kill. Mm. So the best thing to do, if it is going on, they need to stop it. If it's not going on, then kudos for you and cheers. Mm. In terms of texting and talking, in the United States and all over the world now, there is a ban of people actually talking on the phone and even texting. You'll go to jail if you get caught now. They will arrest you if you get caught texting and driving, because that has single-handedly killed more people, younger people especially, because the young people always try to text. Older people tend not to text as much, and they don't really care about texting, but 19, 21-year-old, they're always texting and driving. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the phone call can wait, the message can wait, because if you don't, you're going to arrive late.
Or rather, you can just park by the roadside and make your calls and send in your messages.
Some people do that. That's the best suggestion there is. Either pull off on the side if it's let's say you have your husband is in the hospital and you receive a call from the hospital. Pull over on the side and take it, but don't drive and be on the phone. Worse off, do not text, because now you cannot see, you're impaired, you're distracted, and especially again in Nigeria, there's so many people, you will kill someone eventually.
So, but let's look at this way. When an auto crash occurs, what should be the first thing to do? Is it to call a doctor, call the police, call road safety? You don't even know who to call. At that particular point, you're all confused. And then, what should be the first thing you record during such an accident?
Good. First thing you do is call the police. Now, I've told this to many people before, and they said when you call the police will not show up. So it's crazy. I don't believe it. I believe the police will show up if you call the police. Now, if they don't show up, then that's something that needs to be investigated, because they are there to protect you. You need the police because if something went wrong, you need somebody to say, go to court with you and say, I went to the scene of the accident and this is what we saw, this is what we recorded. The first thing you record is the other person's name, number, address.
All the details about...
Exactly. Yeah. Insurance number, and most importantly, any witnesses who were there. You need to be able to get their name and number and an accurate account of what happened. If you can't get the police, they call the Federal Road Safety. But you need to get somebody there just to make sure that if something go wrong, let's say 2 days later, you found out that as a result of the accident, you had some brain injury. You have to be able to call someone, and you have to, at least in the United States and the rest of the world, you need to get a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So if you can't get the police, you can't get Federal Safety, then call a lawyer.
Go to an accident scene?
Yes, nope. But not many people can afford to call a lawyer. So if you are well off enough, you make enough money to get an attorney, call a lawyer.
But in a case,
lawyers are funny. If the lawyer know that this is a case where he or she can make some money, because a truck belonging to a big corporation hit you, he'll be there to defend you. He'll be more than happy to be your attorney because he knows he can get a huge compensation.
But in a case where I call either the police, the Federal Road Safety, or the lawyer, and none fail to show up, can I go ahead to take some picture of the scene myself as a person, as an individual?
Always do that. Always take a picture of the scene. Make sure that you take a picture of the license plate of the car, the accident, the damages, and even if you had some bleeding or something, you need to take pictures of it. All of us have cell phones with cameras. It's easy to do. Perhaps you can even take pictures of the witnesses who are standing around, because in the end, if you need a witness to come and say something, sometimes they don't want to get involved. But if you have a picture of someone who was there when the accident occurred, you can always use the court to subpoena that individual to come to court and say what they saw.
All right. So, do you think the introduction of fine will reduce the rate of reckless driving on our roads?
Absolutely. I was in the United States. We have cameras at these four-way stop signs, and it's expensive if you run the light. It's $500. I got caught by a camera running a light, and I had to pay $500, and it's painful. Yeah. It's painful, and you have to just give. I'd rather take $500 and buy a gift, to buy a watch, buy a suit, but to give it to the government because I ran the light, that's when it's painful.
That's why you need to be more careful the next time you're going to run into such a
about being vigilant there.
But every time I get to those, I'm so traumatized now by those cameras that every time I get to a stop sign, I stop. So, of course, once you start hitting people where it hurts most, the pockets, the wallets, you will find that they will start obeying the rules. So you have to put more people on the road, more police officers, or we call them state troopers on the road, and their job is specifically to police the roads and get people to obey the rules. If you don't, then they'll give you a ticket and then have you pay a huge fine, and you will see there will be a big reduction in all of these fatalities, because people now know that if I'm speeding, I'm going to get caught. If I get caught, I'm going to pay a couple thousand naira, and you will see a big difference.
That is a very good introduction there. We need to, I just hope that the government are listening to you this morning. I think this will be the best thing for Nigerians who drive recklessly on Nigerian roads.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you very much, Dr. Rawlins, for coming on the program this morning.
Anything. I love the color orange on you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc.
All right. Joining us next is Gordon Studebaker, who has been in over 40 countries helping to build and sustain initiatives in various sectors of the economy. He will be talking to us on the Yola Grand Alliance initiative, recently launched by the American University of Nigeria, and other development issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back.